Mark Byington reels in another star from the portal, this one from Virginia Tech. Let's go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. On today's episode, we break down Vandy's newest basketball transfer, Tyler Nickel. A great move by Mark Byington. Also, we look at the possibilities of a two-quarterback system and how it could work with Diego Pavia and Nate Johnson. That'll be interesting. And then with portal season about to ramp back up, the Doors need to add some big pieces to the puzzle in portal season. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Mark Byington is making some moves, okay? He got earlier in the transfer season, he got Jalen Carey, and now he lands his second portal commitment. He lands Virginia Tech wing Tyler Nickel. Tyler Nickel, 6'7", was a former Rivals 4-star top 100 player, signed with North Carolina out of high school, transferred. He's looking for the right fit. He transferred from UNC as a freshman for more playing time because UNC, unfortunately for his sake, probably just loaded up and he probably just couldn't quite crack the lineup. Then he went to Virginia Tech, and now he's on his way to Vandy to find a good scheme fit. And I think, honestly, he'll definitely get that. Okay, his skill set honestly fits great with Mark Byington's philosophy. He's 6'7". He's a wing guy, shoots really well from beyond the three-point line. He's great in transition and can finish at the rim. So he kind of fits that system where he can run and get to the basket and get some transition buckets there. And also defensively, he's going to be that guy that can provide a lot of opportunities to get the ball moving in quick transition and provide some opportunities for his teammates, whereas other people might not kind of fit that role. But he fits really well in this fast-paced system. I mean, I think when you break down his game, he's somebody that, what Vandy needs, especially in the system, is like when you have a fast-paced system, it's great, you can score. But if you don't have anybody that can get it back going on the other side, on the other end of the floor, it's not going to work, because teams that can beat these fast-paced teams, they end up, if you let the other team kind of control the tempo of the game, whereas like a Mark Byington type philosophy is going to say, okay, the thing that we can control the most is the tempo, and we can make you play at our pace, which is tiring, which is exhausting. They're running up and down the court. They're playing suffocating defense. They're moving the ball around. They get other teams frustrated. And I think he's a big, long piece that fits really well on the wings, that can close out on the perimeter, collapse down onto the elbow, and really just kind of stick his hands in passing lanes and things like that, and really kind of disrupt on that end of the floor, and really throw a wrench into what other teams are trying to do. Because one way to slow that down is to slow the tempo down, and pretty much grind it into a half-court game. And if you can do that, you don't have to try to beat a tempo team at their own pace. You control it so that their opportunities be fewer and far in between. And of course, you have to capitalize on your opportunities, because with you holding the ball and controlling the clock, you're probably not going to throw up as many shots as you need to in order to kind of make that philosophy successful. So what he does is he provides the defensive prowess to be able to make those steals, intercept passes, block shots around the rim, get long rebounds, things like that, and kick the ball out to a streaking point guard and get this thing going. Also, if the other team wants to try to run and get in transition, he can get back and play 1-on-2 defense and move side to side really, really fast. So he's somebody that I really like in this scheme. And so one thing you're not going to get with Tyler Nickel, okay? If you as a Vandy fan are expecting Tyler Nickel to come in and score 20 points a game, probably not going to happen, okay? He's not somebody that's going to be a high scorer. He may have some games where he's up there just by virtue of hitting, getting hot and hitting some threes and getting some transition baskets, but he's not going to be somebody that night in and night out you're going to go, Tyler Nickel's going to bail us out of this game because he's going to score 32 points. It's not going to happen, and that's okay. That's not his role. That's not what he's going to do. That's not how he's going to construct his game. His game is to create. So he's going to have probably 11 points. He may have a double-double with points and assists, right? So, he's going to provide opportunities for people. He's going to disrupt down on the defensive end of the floor. He's going to get a rebound. He's going to throw it out to a point guard, and it's going to be 2 passes and score, and then he's going to do it all over again. And then he's going to get in on some of the action, like the 2 guard's going to make a steal, and he's going to go streaking down. He'll likely play the 3 spot. There's not really any set positions, but if you had to number them and categorize them, he's probably the small forward, the 3. So wherever that kind of fits in the rotations and the positionless basketball philosophy, you still have to identify them somehow. He'll probably be the 3, which means he'll kind of run the upper, the elbow extended to the wings. He's somebody that you get a guard that drives and dishes out, or you throw into the low post, they collapse. They collapse on Jalen Carey, and he kicks it out of the corner to Tyler Nickel. Tyler Nickel knocks down the 3. That's the production you're going to get. He's gonna benefit from some of the open looks of the other guys driving or defenses collapsing into the paint on those guys. He's going to pop out to the wing. Ball's going to kick over to him. Bam. He's going to hit a big 3, right? Or he's going to get a fast break started. He's going to make a steal like the free throw line or top of the key, and then he's going to get the outlet pass, and then he's going to loop back around. So when the guy he makes the pass to cuts across, he's going to loop back behind, and they're going to throw it to him, and he's either going to put the ball on the floor and go, or he's going to pull up at 3 and knock it down. Both things that he's really good at. In a half court offense, he would be the guy that pops out and hits the occasional momentum building 3. He's not a guy that's going to carry you and consistently drive to the basket. Like if it does slow down into more of a half court game, he's not somebody that's going to grab the ball at the top of the key and say he's going to put it on the ground and take it to the rack and do that time and time again, possession after possession, like Ezra Mannion did. He's just not going to do that. And if you expect him to do that, just don't be surprised that you're disappointed, because if that's what you're expecting, that's not what you're going to get. That's not his game. And I'm okay with that. Okay. I'm okay with him scoring 10 to 12 points a game, having 10 to 12 assists per game, and being a factor on defense with like 4 steals, 6 boards, and just cleaning up things and just being kind of that, if they scored assists like they do in hockey, where like, if you make 2 passes, both guys get an assist. If you make 3 passes, if you make 2 passes in a bucket, those 2 guys get the assist. Like if they scored it with hockey, he'd probably have a lot more assists. But like he's going to be a guy that creates. He's going to be a guy that draws. That also in transition, he's going to draw a defender away from the paint and allow opportunities for there to be cuts and drives and open space there. Like it might be a drive, dish, pass to another guy looping around for the assist. Like it may be, some of that stuff where you get some superior fast-paced ball movement. And so it's going to be fun to kind of watch him kind of grow and kind of play his role. Now in the target that now in the transfer portal that Vandy needs is a nice, really good point guard. And they need somebody, that Malik Mack would have been. And I don't think we're in on him, the point guard from Harvard. I don't think Vandy's in on him anymore from what I've read, but he's somebody that would fit perfectly within this scheme. He would be the perfect point guard to kind of, point guard like that would be a perfect fit to be able to navigate and run the floor and be that guy that, okay, you get a steal. Okay, fine. Let's just say theoretically it was Mac. Find Mac. Okay, we're going to dish it to Mac, and Mac's gonna do it from there, right? And Tyler Nickel does have the ability to put the ball on the floor and run. Like if he gets a steal, he can take it coast to coast. He has that ability. That's just not his strong suit, right? His strong suit is catching a pass and from the elbow and taking it to the rack in transition, where you have like a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 type situation. So. Vandy's definitely not done in the portal. There's more targets available, but Tyler Nickel is a phenomenal piece here for Mark Byington. So this is starting to come together a little bit. But speaking of coming together, the quarterback situation is starting to kind of unfold. I want to explore a 2-quarterback system. Would that actually work? I think it could with the quarterbacks we have on this roster. I think you could have a system that could support both Diego Pavia and Nate Johnson. Let's hear about it here in a second. All right, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever had a frustrating ticket buying experience? Like you go to Truist Park and you're just not, you have no idea, and you buy tickets that you think are good, but next thing you know, you're walking a mile into the stratosphere and literally straddling all the lights on top. Like that's where your seat is. Well, Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. So those frustrations should go bye-bye. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, which is really important, and their lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I was buying tickets to a Braves game one time, and I didn't know where the seats were, and I kind of had to guess what my seat would look like. Well, with Gametime, I knew exactly what they would look like. I was buying field level, and I knew I was going to be at the top of the section, but I had a great view on the first base line. Thanks to Gametime, I knew exactly what I was getting, and the upfront pricing, I knew exactly what I was getting too. So those are my two things. And then I want to try the zone deals. I haven't bought tickets since to anything, but zone deals are even cool. Priority last minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater, all of that stuff. So I'm going to try that. Flash deals. There's in-app deals that let you select seats ahead of time. Zone deals, you pick the section. Gametime picks the seats. They offer deal pricing on that. As I said, all-in pricing, if you make sure this is on when you're using the app so that there's no surprise fees, you know what you're getting. The seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. I think this is what sets Gametime apart from everybody else. They have the lowest price guarantee, so Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So let's say you buy a ticket for $30 less, they'll reimburse you $40. They have Gametime ticket coverage as well. That's purchase insurance that gives you the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Excuse me. I'm getting a little excited about Gametime. Excuse me. I stumble over my words. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off on your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back. Segment number 2. Are you sick and tired of watching ESPN and all of that screaming, or Fox Sports, or even Fox News, really? Do you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, which is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So I asked the question, and I think, and I answered my own question. I think it could absolutely work. Could a 2-quarterback system work for Vandy? Well, so here's the situation. You have transfer quarterback Diego Pavia, who is an absolute master of the system. You have Nate Johnson, who's an absolute beast of an athlete, can run, throws well in certain situations. You have Blaise Berlowitz, who probably has the strongest arm of this group. And you have Drew Dickey, who's just the veteran, savvy competitor guy that is pretty good at a lot of things. And then you have these 2 star freshmen coming in that offer different traits as well. So I think, honestly, the more and more we go, I think it's more onto Pavia. I think he's more of the fit. I think a 2-quarterback system could work. Call me crazy, but I think it could work. I don't know if I have to say no Spurrier after this, but it didn't work for Spurrier, but it could work for Vandy because these 2 guys are totally different. Like Diego Pavia just knows the system in and out. And I think that's going to be his biggest advantage. And I think, honestly, my prediction is that that's going to vault him into the quarterback 1 spot. That's no indictment to the other guys that are going through spring right now, but I just don't think they've taken full enough advantage of getting those reps without Pavia in the picture to get themselves kind of in a position to where they can legitimately take this job. All these guys are still very, very raw. And so with a 2-quarterback system, if you try to do a 2-quarterback system with 2 guys that are similar, it doesn't work, right? But I think, Florida, Urban Meyer did this, and I can't believe I'm saying that, Urban Meyer did something that I liked, but I mean, there's a lot of things, coaching wise that he did that I thought was pretty brilliant. Like Tim Tebow was, as a freshman, was very similar to what Nate Johnson is, a very dynamic runner, very raw passer, and is limited in what he can throw. And then you had a guy that's just a savvy veteran that knows the system, that just is good with Chris Leak, right? That's what they had at Florida. But I think you get even more of a better version of that, because instead of Chris Leak, who was just a super talented, great polished passer that could run all of the drop back schemes that fit within Urban Meyer's system, I think with Pavia, I think him knowing the scheme and being an expert at the scheme, coming over with Jerry Kill and Tim Beck, that he naturally just kind of fits into that role and he bridges the gap while the other guys develop, whether it's Nate Johnson, Blaise Berlowitz, or whoever, or one of the freshmen that they signed, St. Hilaire or Muschamp. But I think he's going to be the unquestioned starter, at least game 1. So how a 2-quarterback system would work in this scenario, Nate Johnson, let's take his skill set. He's a phenomenal runner, electric runner, right? So you take advantage of that. And Pavia can run in his own right, but you don't want to run him into the ground. You don't want him to, you don't want to run him into the ground, especially in this league, right? He's tough. He's a wrestler, former wrestler. I mean, he's got the mentality to tote the pill like 15 times, 12, 15 times as a quarterback in the quarterback run game. But you don't want that kind of, you don't want that kind of wear and tear on him throughout the course of a season. He won't last in this league doing that. So I think having the 2-quarterback system where like you have Nate Johnson come in, and Nate Johnson has superior running ability, and he throws well enough that you can't load up the box on him and stop the run, because like, okay, we know he's going to run. There's a good chance he's going to run. We're going to load 9 in the box and we're going to come get you. You can't do that, because the minute you do that, boom, he's out the gate and he's throwing a deep ball to Jeremiah Dillon, and you're screwed because Jeremiah Dillon just beat his guy 1-on-1, and you're sitting there in the box going, okay, where'd he go? He was supposed to run the ball. Dadgummit, we didn't get it. So I think you could have a legit thing here, because like you get Pavia that gets off and going, and then you have Nate Johnson kind of as the changeup, that a guy that you go from, it's kind of like a hybrid of like a 2-quarterback, 2 running back system, Whereas like you got Nate Johnson in there with, like, let's say AJ Newberry or Cedric Alexander. You got two really, really nice runners in there. You got Alexander, Newberry that can run between the tackles, and you got Nate Johnson that can get out on the edge and freaking go, man. And you got that going for you. And dude, you're in really good shape with that. So that's how that would work. But let's pause for a minute. We're going to continue this discussion. All right. And we're going to kind of bleed that into some needs in the transfer portal. We're going to continue this discussion here just a minute, but we're going to hear from our friends at FanDuel. That's right. You heard it right. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL. Baseball's in full swing. FanDuel's and UFL actually, and FanDuel's your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. So bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks to touchdowns in spring football, all on the app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for, actually? I don't know. Do this now. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. All right. Welcome back. Segment number 3. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We thank you everydayers for making all this possible. Visit Locked On Vandy on all social media. And again, big thank you to the everydayers. So continuing our discussion about two quarterbacks. Corey, this is crazy. That'll never work. I can hear it now, right? I can hear that now. I can hear the naysayers. It will never work. In this scenario, I think it actually could. Okay. I think it actually could. So to recap, you have Pavia, master of the system, knows probably is on par with Tim Beck as far as knowledge of the system. You could probably hand it if Diego Pavia has a major injury. Tim Beck could probably go take a vacation and Pavia could call it, right? That's how good he is as far as knowledge wise. But I think if you want to be unique, if you want to be outside the box, if you want to have that thing that nobody else does, that makes you unique and gives you a chance. And it gives your offensive line a chance, which is also a big need in the portal. I think this is a way that you need to kind of look at doing it, because you have a package for Nate Johnson, which I think that they will. You have a package of like a few runs, a few throws that he does, some boots, some maybe an RPO and some things where he's sprinting out, that you have a legitimate enough package for Nate Johnson that it keeps defenses off balance. They see 17 run into the game. They're like, okay, he's running. Boom. Next thing you know, he's not. And that really kind of throws people off. And so doing that, and everything's about building momentum, because at Vanderbilt, you have to build momentum. With most football teams, you do. Like Georgia can struggle win, right? They did it last year at Vandy at the big construction site. They struggle won. It looked at times that they just weren't into it. But then, of course, they turn it on, they go, right? Vandy can't do that. Vandy has to build momentum and build on top of building. And it has to be, they have to create that snowball effect, right? And so bringing in Pavia, drive it down first series and punch it in, okay? Then you get Pavia, get to the 50, change up, boom, it's Nate Johnson, big play. Now the crowd is jacked up, right? Now you've scored twice, and your defense gets jacked up about that. And it's something that can electrify an offense. Now, the downside, because there's always a downside, right? There's always a downside to it, and there's always a downside to just about anything. So the downside is, let's say you call it in the wrong situation. Well, if you call it in the wrong situation, it could mess up the rhythm of your starter, Pavia. It could mess up the rhythm of that. There could be a big play the other way, whereas like they get they try to boot out and And as they're sacking Nate Johnson, they punch the ball out, they scoop and score. Next thing you know, there's momentum the other way. Now Pavia's got a little bit more pressure on him to kind of go down there and answer. So that's the dark side of a 2-quarterback system is you take some of that control out of Pavia's hands, and you're not just and it's also good and bad. You're taking pressure off of his hands, but you're also taking some of the control out of his hands as well, and putting it into kind of a volatile situation. Whereas you have big plays that could happen either way, and that's the potential that you have with doing this. So knowing that risk and knowing the reward kind of makes it interesting and kind of gives you something to think about if you're the Vandy coaching staff, saying, hey, we might want to explore this, because at 2-10, like, you lost to freaking UNLV last year. Like, really, what do you have to lose, right? I mean, if this thing's going to go down, you need to go down swinging. If that means 2 quarterbacks, that means 2 quarterbacks. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? This is just a possibility. I'm not saying that they should do this. I'm saying that they could do this, and they could actually make it work if they did it right. Not saying it will work, but it could work. And I would be willing to try it, especially if I got a guy that's as dynamic as Nate Johnson, that can actually throw the ball well. Yeah, he throws the ball well. It's not like, you read the practice reports and he's shaky. Well, if you're trying to make him throw from the pocket in a system that he's not comfortable in, of course he's going to be shaky. But as he develops in this thing and as he learns, maybe he can develop into that guy. And next time I have Kurt Page on, I'm gonna have to ask him about the 2-quarterback system and the possibility of doing that, because when you're thinking about it, you have to weigh the possibility of, okay, what does it do confidence wise to Pavia? Does it hurt his confidence? Is it something that he's jacked up about? Do they get these 2 quarterbacks in at the same time? Where I think it was UNLV. I think it was UNLV. There was a school out there. If you follow Coach Dan Casey on Twitter, he did a whole thing about the two quarterback system, where he had this team had 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time, and they did some pretty funky stuff with it. And I think they could have a specialty package where they have both of those guys on the field and do some double passes, do some things like that, where it gets real tricky, real fast. So I think it's interesting. I think it's something worth looking at, and it's probably something they are looking at as they see this quarterback situation unfold. Now, let's say something happens long term to Pavia. Is Nate Johnson your new quarterback 1? I would venture to say no. I think for 2024, if you commit to this 2-quarterback system, I think you have to keep Nate Johnson in the current role that he would be in, and continue to just try to develop his package of plays from there. And you would then make your quarterback 3 would probably be your primary long-term backup, which is like Blaise Berlowitz or Drew Dickey or St. Hilaire, or whoever wins that backup job, the backup job if they go 2 quarterbacks. That's a possibility. If Nate Johnson doesn't really develop as fast as they want him to, they could take advantage of what he does, because he's such an electric athlete, that I think this would be something really worth noting. And so that'd be something interesting to talk about and something interesting to explore. Let me know your thoughts on that. Would you welcome a 2-quarterback system or not? I think it would be interesting. I think it should be something worth noting. So anyway, real quick before we get out of here, transfer portal season is about to ramp up. Vandy needs to get some big people in the transfer portal. I think offensive tackles are a big need, so keep your eyes peeled for some offensive linemen. Maybe there's one at Arkansas that might pop up that I saw. Forgot his name already, but he's not officially in the portal yet. But the portal season opens on April 16th, so they need some tackles on both offense and defense. I think they could use another inside linebacker. in the portal. I think maybe a running back or another kind of big-time receiver could be in order, and maybe even a center. I think they should address some of those things in the portal. Speaking of offensive linemen, last thing before I really jump out of here, Byron Nelson from Katy, Texas, big dude, 6'3", 280, is set to visit. He set a summer visit in June, so that'll be a big get. He's a 3-star out of Texas, battling against, I think, Pitt is the main competition for Byron Nelson. Would fit great on the interior at 6'3", 280. Teach him how to snap, maybe be a center. I don't know, but that'd be interesting get. He's set for an official visit, so that would be awesome. And I'll break him down as we get closer to official visit season. Probably do a lot of recruiting stuff in June with Vanderbilt. So that being said, Tyler Nickel, welcome to the squad. 2 quarterbacks, could it work? I think it could. Something to be considered. And then, of course, need to find some large people in the transfer portal for Vandy for Clark Lee. So that's going to do it for us here on this Thursday edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends about it. We want to take over. We want to be the number one show on the network. We want to be the number one show in Nashville. So make sure you subscribe. Anchor down. Be good. We'll see you back here tomorrow. We'll get you ready for the weekend. Peace.